Hi, my name is Harris and you're watching HM Law, the show where we break down difficult legal concepts and make them really easy to understand. In this video, we're going to look at 3 reasons why international law is so important. International law was by far my favourite subject in school because instead of confining yourself to one specific territory of the world and looking at contract and employment law and criminal law in just one country, I had the opportunity to learn about lots and lots of different countries, cultures and nationalities. International law literally deals with the entire world, and I found that fascinating. But international law is much more important than just looking at colourful cultures around the world. It's actually fundamental, I think, to the society that we live in today. So the first reason that we need international law, and probably the main reason, is that it's simply to stop conflict and war from breaking out. And the idea here is that just like we have individual countries, there's a set of rules that dictate what a country can and can't do. And one of those things that a country definitely can't do is invade other countries. Just like on the street, you're not allowed to assault other people. And of course, just like it is with people, countries don't always follow these rules. But what you'll find is that actually since World War II, conflict around the world has been decreasing at a steady rate, and the world at least seems to be getting more peaceful and less violent as time goes on. Having said that, the next thing I'm going to discuss might also have had an impact on this. So the second reason that we need international law is that it facilitates trade between countries. Now, the concept of trade and the concept of law play a really big role in each other's lives. And the idea here is that, well, in order for countries to engage in trade, there needs to be a set of legal rules that everyone can follow so that there's no unpredictability and that a country knows that it's not just about to get ripped off or invaded at any point. And then in the same way, when countries do begin to start trading with each other, well, because they're probably getting richer, the population is much more happier, they're probably more likely to follow the law in the first place. So you have this symbiotic relationship between international trade and international law, and it's this virtuous cycle that kind of keeps spinning. And the effects of this, I think, on our modern world today speak for themselves. If you're a human being living today in today's world, it's highly likely that you've grown up in peace rather than having grown up in a war-torn conflict. And finally, the third reason that we need international law is that having a strong set of international legal principles will allow us to explore our human curiosity for travel without the threat that we'll have our rights violated, that we'll be imprisoned indefinitely for no reason. Think about when you go on holiday in countries like the Maldives or St. Lucia. These countries are on opposite sides of the world, and for someone from Europe or Oceania to go to one of these countries, they would stick out like a sore thumb. Everyone would know that they're a foreigner. But you know that when you go there as an Australian, as a British person, as a European, that there is something in the world that will protect you and your rights, whether that's your country's embassy, whether that's local police forces, whether that's an organised state structure that's always going to protect you and stop you from being mauled to death by locals who hate foreigners coming into their country. There are international laws in place specifically to stop the locals from St. Lucia or Gibraltar or the Maldives from assaulting and stealing from tourists. And the reason why these people will follow the rules is because overall it's probably going to be more beneficial for them to follow these rules than to not. Having said that, there are of course plenty of places in the world where international law only really exists in theory and there's little respect for it. So these countries are probably where you want to exercise a bit more caution in terms of travelling there and living a life that you're normally used to. And taking all these 3 things into account, what this really does overall is it facilitates human cooperation. The idea of trade between humans, the idea of them following the same set of legal principles, the idea of people exploring different lands. This is all for human cooperation. So whether it's getting to know other cultures and societies, whether it's economic development in Vietnam, whether it's humanitarian aid in Haiti, all of this happens because people feel part of a global community under a secure set of laws, and people are happy to transcend borders either to help or to make other people's lives much better.